Talk about the power of social media. So I connected with Tiffany a couple years ago on TikTok of all places and immediately just fell in love with what she was building and doing over in Burton, Texas. Tiffany is a community advocate. She's a small business owner. She is a certified life coach. She has lots of experience in all the things that it takes to do this sort of revitalization work and community development, grassroots initiatives. And what she's been able to do over in Burton has been very successful and very impactful for her very small community. So, with that, I want to introduce you all to my friend Tiffany and let her introduce herself, actually.
Well, thank you, Amanda. I'm so happy to be on your reground. This is a very exciting project. I think you're right. I think these unsung heroes, I'm not calling myself a hero because I have a team, but it's the people that are just so passionate need a platform. And I think this can be great for you to give us, all of us, a platform to talk about things like this. Community support is so important when you're an entrepreneur because you feel like you're alone and then you find out you're not. So it's important work.
It is, and I always say, it's always a group of entrepreneurs leading the charge because local government, they just don't have the capacity to take on those sorts of projects. Sometimes they do, and that's amazing when they have resources to pour into community development and promoting their town as a destination, as you do there in Burton. But a lot of times it's not the case. They're burdened with, potholes and the water sewer plant and all those things that are very important and they should be prioritized.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always the business owners who step up and sort of take the reins and take the lead because they can't afford to wait on those problems to be solved. You've got to keep the foot traffic coming. And that's exactly what you did in Burton. So I traveled down to Burton in January of last year. Was it 2025? I think it
Years.
was.
In 2 years.
Oh my gosh, that's incredible.
I
Time
know.
has flown. Burton is sort of an out of the way spot. There's sort of a main-ish highway, and I'll let you correct me if I'm wrong, but there's, like we call it a 4-lane highway here in Southwest Virginia. But there's one of those, and you have to intentionally exit that to arrive at Burton. And so one of the things that you all have been able to do is utilize grant programs that were available to you, your hot tax program, right? And
Correct.
put up a billboard directing people to Burton. How many people actually live in Burton?
297.
That's amazing. And what's incredible is it's like four miles, right? Miles. And there are so many small businesses encapsulated within those 4 miles.
We have 15 women-owned businesses represented in Destination Burton. So, and yeah, you wouldn't know that from looking at our town when you drive in. I was pleasantly surprised when we started getting together just how many of us, and it's not all like regular businesses. It's like a museum, restaurants, antique stores. Our realtors real involved in what we're doing. So it's a community effort.
Initially, when Tiffany reached out to me, she made clear that there's a town that sort of has an identity close to Burton. So Round Top, Texas is known for this antique show, this huge antique show. I mean, it's like a worldwide famous show.
Right.
And so the economy sort of is centered around that. And so you were very clear in our initial conversations that Burton wanted to keep its integrity intact and they didn't want to become Round Top, but they wanted to also capitalize on Round Top while also forging their own path and becoming their own destination.
Correct. Yes.
And I think you've been able to do that.
Yeah, I think we have too. And one thing that attracted to me to you when I started following you on TikTok was your ability to tell stories. And I think that's what's keeping us separate from Round Top is we have some really great people on our organization that tells a good story between the Cotton Gin Museum and the business owners. And we are different from Round Top. Funny enough, Round Top only has population 90.
Wow.
But it just blows up twice a year with this antique show, and a lot of money has been dumped into Round Top, and it can be debated whether it's a good thing or a bad thing. I think it's a good thing, but the people of Burton definitely do not want to become a Round Top, so we have to respect that.
Respect it and also celebrate what makes you unique. And you have so many unique businesses in Burton, and you still do. And one thing that I'm going to make content about, by the way, soon is that sort of walking trail that you all were able to do. And I
So
believe that was like maybe it was a county thing. I'm not sure. I can't remember the exact details. I was going to get with you on that.
yes.
Can you speak about that a little
Sure.
bit? Because I think it's a great
So,
idea.
the next biggest town is Brenham, Texas. So, most people know of Brenham, and we're in Washington County with Brenham. So, we're part of that. And they have an amazing tourism department called Visit Brenham. And they were able to get the Smithsonian's traveling exhibit to come to Brenham. And because of that project, the little towns in Washington County was able to have a sound walk. So you can scan the QR code and you can hear the stories about the different buildings in our town. And there's a map you can follow to the map, or you can just get it on your phone and walk around. And I love it. I just think it's the coolest thing. So it makes history come alive. And what we found with Destination Burton is what we can capitalize on is agro-tourism, historic tourism, and rural tourism, and that's super hot right now to our benefit. And so the people that just really love history now have something really cool to do in addition to the Cotton Gin Museum.
You stay on top of these trends. You've talked to me over the last couple years since we've gotten to know each other a couple of times about different trends as far as tourism goes. And you are actually a short-term lodging owner. I stayed in one of her establishments, Flown the Coop. She's on social media. Go find her and definitely follow along. But I stayed in a space that you have that's close to your home, and it was so perfectly done. I loved all of the creative touches. And actually, the cover photo on my Facebook page is a photo from inside your Airbnb there that I stayed in. I loved my time there. And at the time, you had a retail store next door. And so I've noticed over the last couple of months that you're making a pivot, and you initially were going to turn that space into another short-term lodging. What was the driving factor in sort of making that shift and that pivot?
Well, I absolutely loved my retail store. I love merchandising. I love, curating it. I loved everything about it. But in a small town like this, you have to get used to long stretches of nobody coming in. So I kept track for like 2 years of the foot traffic, and it just wasn't sustainable for me. So you talk about pivoting, and how do you know when to pivot? I think your gut tells you long before your heart allows you to accept it. And so I was even struggling when you came to speak to us. I was trying to figure it out. But talking to my husband over a period of time, he kind of let me flounder through it because he knew what we would eventually do is what we're doing now. I had to come to that acceptance first. But our Airbnb does really well, partly because we're close to Round Top, partly because in this area there's a lot of weddings and family reunions, and so it was a proven concept. So why not just have more? And so we're gonna turn our store into another short-term rental, but in the process of doing that, we fell in love with some of the stuff that we were doing. So we're moving into the store, and our house on our property is going to be on Airbnb. So you have to be flexible. you
I
just
love that. I,
Yeah,
I love what you said that your gut knows long before you're ready to accept it or act
yeah,
on it. That is so true.
it is so
I
true.
struggle with like discerning what is my intuition and my gut and what is, just sort of my ego getting to me and saying, no, you need to be doing this because this is what everybody else does, but
Right.
my heart, differentiating between those feelings is hard for me personally. It's something
Yeah.
that I'm working on.
Well, it's still hard because since we made that decision and we started this project, my friend Lauren opened the Pink Door on Main, and it is so beautifully done. And so that just, that whole watching that whole project go on, and now that she's open, it still pulled on my heartstrings, a little bit of sadness, but I'm happy for her, and I know I'm going to be happy when we get this all done.
But you're so good. You are so good at merchandising. And I remember coming into the store, you had the bicycle display, and I have videos and pictures. I'll try to overlay those here on this. I'm still learning to use the software, but you are so talented at that. But you can do the same in the lodging, and maybe even, there's a little place I stay in one of the towns that I work with regularly in Brooknell, and it's an old one-room schoolhouse that they converted into a B. And they've done something really cool. She's an antique collector, and I think maybe she has some vendor booths throughout the area. She has a space where she has items for sale. And I guess it's sort of the honor system. Like, you have to have some kind of system in place for security so people don't steal, but you can shop during your stay in her place. And I just thought that was so cool. And she even has brought in other artisans that she has their things that are for sale and available.
Simply Southern Cottage, she does it so well. And so we stayed at her villas, and she has QR codes like on the refrigerator and in the living room where you can shop her Amazon shop of what she has in her Airbnb.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, Sarah McDaniel's amazing. You should look her up. She's coming to speak at our third annual Small Town Summit. You were our first. She'll be
I
our
love
third.
that. I'll
Yeah.
have to find her.
Yeah. Oh, she's amazing. Just a very smart entrepreneur woman. Just brilliant. So, but we can all take from what we learn from each other, which is the best part about all of this, you know.
Absolutely, we can. And I love that you put together the Small Town Summit before. Okay, so she forms this group of like-minded entrepreneurs who wanted to focus on promoting Burton as a destination. And then she took it upon herself to form the Small Town Summit. And I don't know, how many people did we have there?
50.
50?
Mm-hmm.
It was incredible. And they weren't just from Burton, they were from throughout the region. So some folks from Taylor, Texas were there. And I obviously didn't know that they were going to be there. And they didn't know me from Adam, but I had worked on a $38 million grant on behalf of Samsung for a plant that's being built in Taylor, Texas. And so that was prior to me coming to Burton. And these folks from Taylor were there, and they were, focused on, I think they were from their Main Street organization, actually. And so they approached me afterward, and they were talking about how they were so excited because this big Samsung plant's being built and all these jobs are coming, and they're trying to embrace this and prepare. Their community is going to change significantly because of this. And so instead of being critical of this amazing thing that was happening to their community, they were embracing it and trying to prepare and do everything that they can to sort of ride the lightning and take advantage of it for the benefit of their town and their Main Street program. So it was really cool for me to meet them because I'd worked on that grant. This is a big full circle moment. How a big project like that, of course, is impactful, but how it impacts the people who are fighting for their communities and fighting to keep their communities relevant and promoted.
So what I'm learning through researching tourism mainly is that it's no longer about a bed for a night. They want the whole experience. They want to buy into whatever the experiences they're looking for. So for instance, on my website, when they book with my short-term rental, I'm trying to figure out what is it they're coming for. I have a perfect story. There was Kid Rock came to a neighboring town, and it was country music something. I can't remember what it was called. But my guest came from Louisiana, and they were going, Belleville is like 30 minutes away. Well, it rained bad. So guests were texting me, and they're like, we're not staying. This is awful. Like, it's just a crap show. And what is there to do in Burton? Because we just want to come back to Burton and stay. And so I hooked them up with the Shortstop Ice House and some other things. They went to brunch at Deeply Rooted, and they had the best time, even though they paid a lot of money to go see Kid Rock and some of the other musicians for that weekend. So I think it's being available to customize their trips for them. And that's what we're pushing. People want to unplug and, get away from the chaos of this world. And our rural destinations are perfect for that. So we're telling the story of how you can kick your feet up on the front porch and have a coffee in the morning or a wine at night or beer, whatever it is that you're looking for. But I learned this I follow two really great influencers. Isaac French, he's just outside of Waco, and he's building some amazing destination type, and he's booked out. And then the Bolt Family Farms is in Tennessee, and that couple have a market on romantic getaways in these tree houses. And I mean, they're just not selling the stay. When you're there, you can get a massage, and you can do all the stuff that builds relationships, and that's their whole focus. So it's not anymore just about like offering somewhere to stay. You have to make it an experience.
So how do people book your spot? Are you only on Airbnb? Is it direct through your website?
So I use a software that I learned through some of these influencers called Hostaway, and it connects you to all the platforms you want to be on, but also you have a direct link. So and it coordinates all the calendars so you don't overbook anywhere. And it's been a lifesaver because a lot of this stuff is automated, and like the emails that go out without me having to send them, which I've had horror early on, like 5 years ago. A couple was coming out to the antique show and they didn't get there till 10. I had gone to bed and I had forgot to send them their check-in information. So they couldn't get a hold of me, they couldn't get in, they had to go to a hotel. I was like, that is never happening again. Don't want
Yeah.
that to happen again. They were real nice about it, but you learn over time. But yeah, that software is amazing. And I can add on, like, if they want charcuterie board when they get there, they can order that before they get there, and make it an experience, and that's add-on sales for me too.
I love that. I'm stealing that. I'm gonna go
Yes,
and sign up with them. I'm actually recording this from my short-term lodging unit, the Airbnb above the coffee shop. So we could actually offer those charcuterie boards. I'm so glad you said that. That's brilliant.
yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, when we stayed at Sarah McDaniel's place, she had a guest book, but she had coupons from all the cool places in her town. So she was sending people to the businesses too. So we're going to incorporate some of that. It's just a matter of getting with all the businesses, which is not,
Sure.
organizing something like that, but
I
it's
was in Floyd, Virginia recently, and I stayed in a vintage Airstream camper. Really cool place. It was definitely a vibe, but Floyd does an amazing job at attracting outside dollars. The town itself, less than 400 people there, very small town, but they have such a tourism economy. It's just the coolest place. I made a video on it. You might have seen it. They have
hmm
a great downtown. It's just a really funky, unique, artisan focused destination in Southwest Virginia. And inside of each unit at the place that I stayed was a bucket, and it had a ton of welcome information. I mean, there was brochures, there was a map of Floyd, coupons, like you said. You have to have those things, and some places are missing that for sure. And how heavy of a lift is that? It's not that hard to put something like that together, but sometimes it takes someone like you to be the driving force behind that, especially when local government just doesn't have, they don't have the creativity, the vision, or the resources to pull something like that off. We're missing that here for sure. And I will tell you that my numbers are down significantly this year as far as my stays go and my short term lodging unit. And I would say probably my business has been reduced by half. And I do not blame that on the economy or gas prices because people are still traveling. I know they are. I am. The gas prices aren't stopping me. I mean, they suck, but it's not stopping me from getting
right.
where I want to go or where I need to be. And I usually travel using short-term lodging places because I just love that experience more than I like a hotel stay. But I was actually having this conversation with my neighbor who's an attorney the other day, and he said, look around. He said, Main Street is a ghost town right now, and it all comes down to promoting a place as a destination,
hmm
and that's lacking where I live. And we're gonna have to probably pull a Burton and
Full burden.
everybody group together and just promote on our own instead of waiting on someone to sort of save us because no one's coming to save us. They've got other things they got to worry about, and I appreciate that. But when you stop promoting a place as a destination, it shows. And as a business owner, when you've invested your time, money, and energy into something, to see it die from what it once was is a really hard thing to do. And you can't allow that to happen because you have money invested in it. You can't allow it to fail. So yeah, I use Burton as an example a lot when I'm talking with towns of what you were able to do. Just so you know, I talk about you a lot because it's really been impactful. I mean, you all have kept things going and kept Burton relevant and gotten a lot of attention for what you've done. And most of the time when you have to form those grassroots initiatives, initially local government is a little adverse to what you're doing, but I'm a big believer that over time, once you're successful and they can't deny that success and they can't deny that you're making a difference most of the time, not always, they get on board and they're supportive and they put some resources into what you're doing as they should.
Yeah, we're very fortunate in Burton in that no, we don't have the support of our local government, but within Destination Burton that we formed, we have, I said 15 women-owned businesses, but we also have, I want to say, 5 organizations in town that are represented on the board. So we're all working together. So the Chamber, Texas Cotton Gin Museum, the Heritage Society, the Burton Beautification Association, and Destination Burton, we're all working together. And kind of like the Main Street model with the 4 pillars, we didn't do a Main Street because we basically have them in these organizations. So
Right.
um, it really is a community effort. And when we celebrated a year in May, I did a video and I went around to some of the business owners and I asked them, like, what was the moment that you thought, oh my gosh, we're creating something special here? And nearly all of them said that the support of each other through, we have a text message thing that goes out, and anytime somebody has a problem or wants to celebrate something, it goes on that and everybody chimes in, helping each other solve problems, standing up to city council when we have to, together. It's that, it wasn't an exact moment, but we all feel it. We all feel supported even if we're not supported, with our city government.
And the loudest boos come from the cheapest seats. I think that's going to be a recurring theme in this podcast because I said it in my last episode with Matt Deal. And it's so valid and so true because the people who have the least invested in the success of a place will be the loudest every time. And a lot of times
Mhm.
it may be someone who just feels threatened or they want the attention or whatever. And they will often be problematic. That is often the case, that someone just feels unheard. And sometimes you can invite that person in to feel like they have a place to offer their talents, their creativity, their ideas. And it works out to be great. But then sometimes you make the invitation, which you did, and they're not willing to participate or play ball with you and what you're trying to build. So I remember using the phrase plow around the stump with you on a phone
Oh,
call. That's a phrase that I use everywhere. It's a farming phrase, obviously. I mean, literally means, there's a stump in a field. And it's a lot easier to just go around it than it is to deal with the stump.
right,
And
right.
that's so true, right? So like, that's what you did. You
Yes.
just found a way to go around all of that.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. I think I already told you once, but it's not just one person, it's a group in our town, and they're very proud of it. They have the bibs and the bobs. They've labeled us. You're either born in Burton or born out of Burton. So you're a bib or a bob. And they're not shy about calling us bobs all the time. So.
Okay, remind me, what is the story with the guys in the coffee shop? And they've sort of embraced the moniker that they've been given.
Oh, yeah, that's the best story ever. So, our mayor, these guys started meeting at the coffee shop every Thursday morning, and it grew from like 3 guys to like the word got out. And I mean, it's just it's a great example of people just want community. They just want community. Well, our mayor called them nothing but a bunch of roosters. And so they ran with it. And so they're called the Roosters. They all have their rooster mugs with their names on it. The Burton Beautification Association put a new flagpole and they put a rooster at the top of it in the park. It's so funny. But they're like, okay, you can call us roosters, but we're gonna have fun with it.
I love that. They took the power out of that
Right.
attack and owned it. I absolutely love that. Wow.
Yeah.
That's a
Really.
great story. I would love to share that story actually
Sure.
on social media because I love that. And we've I've got a couple examples of that here as well. But these little small town petty dramas, I love that those guys just said, okay, we,
Yeah.
you know, we're just gonna roll with it. Just
Really.
imagine how that makes the other group feel.
Hmm.
Knowing that
Yeah.
they tried to, they made a great effort to take something down, and instead they took the power out of it and made it their own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I realized a while back that I think when I opened my store again this last time, how bad I wanted to be a part of community. and with bibs and bobs and, all that. I mean, Dr. Seuss knew about this a long time ago. Did you ever watch the Sneetches? With stars upon their bellies. Some had stars, some didn't. And then the ones that didn't got stars, and then the ones with stars wanted them off. I mean, it's like it's human nature, maybe. I don't know. But when we started getting together with Destination Burton, I realized that I didn't have to be a part of their community. We had community, and we were building community, and that was something that they can't take away from us. I mean, we're a force to be reckoned with at this point, and so are the Roosters.
If you could offer one piece of advice to an entrepreneur in an overlooked, underutilized downtown area, underpromoted area who just wanted to inject some life into their town, and so they wanted to start their own grassroots movement to make that happen, what advice would you give to that person leading the charge?
Do it. Like, you don't, oh, this is one thing that I think I've heard you say a few times too, is you don't need permission.
That's right.
Just look at the people that you want to be in your group and invite them in, and then they'll invite other people, and it'll just grow naturally. But you have to do it in community. There's no other way. I mean, you cannot be an island in of yourself in a rural community. It's gonna kill you. It's not gonna work.
Just do it and be inclusive. And it doesn't matter, everyone's got so much to offer. And
Right.
when you start excluding people for whatever reason, you're dead before you even get
Right.
off the ground.
Yeah.
So you don't need permission to make an impact in your community. You actually don't need anyone's permission to enact positive change. And
Right.
sometimes we think we have to have that permission, or this is someone else's responsibility and I don't want to step on their toes. Forget that. And that's one thing that I personally have had to really move beyond, because the things that I do are absolutely someone else's responsibility, but
Yeah.
they're not doing it. And so
Right.
I have the capacity to do it, so I just do it. Has that made me popular amongst the people who are supposed to be doing those things? Absolutely not. They wish I would stop, but I'm not going to stop because I know it's making a difference. And you just do it. That's right. And that's one thing I want to do with this, is to show people the roadmap on how to do that. Have you ever heard of Damn It Do It Day? Other than
I've
from
heard,
me.
no, not from, just from you. I've heard you say it.
So I found this on social media. I think it's called the Downtown Happy Hour. Find those guys on social media. Lots of great advice and insight. They're very like-minded, and they were talking about Damn It Do It Day. I don't know, this is probably 5 or 6 years ago. And Damn It Do It Day basically is this concept of, oh, you see some weeds that need to be pulled over there in this common shared area. Just to go pull the weeds. Let's look around this one day collectively across the country, and damn it, just do it. If this fence needs to be painted, it's someone else's property, of course, get permission, but just do it. So they were selling these T-shirts that said, "Damn it, do it, America's Doers Association," and I'm like, the light bulbs are going off. I'm like, this
Oh,
is brilliant. So I
I
was
love
I was
that.
the director of our downtown association at that time, and so I had T-shirts printed that said, "Damn it, do it, Tazewell Doers Association," and I gave them out to the volunteers, and everybody loved it.
Yeah. I
Well,
love
everyone
that.
except for our town manager at the time. You can attract a lot of negative attention when you start doing things like that, unfairly. Again, the loudest boos come from the cheapest seats, but you
Right.
just have to take things upon yourself sometimes and do it. And that is the overarching theme of this podcast and this show, is people who have not waited for the cavalry to come and save them. They just pulled up their bootstraps and figured out how to do it themselves.
Hmm. Lord knows I gave them a chance to do it, but they won't. So there you go.
Yeah, I think that's right. Going through, expressing concerns to the right people is the way to do it. But when they ignore you for a very long time, and your business is suffering, and you see your community suffer, and you see your neighbors and their businesses close one after the other, and then what are you going to do? Stand by and just let that happen to everyone? No, damn it, do it.
I love it. Might have to use that one too.
So the Damn It Do It t-shirts are iconic. And if you have one, because they're such a limited edition, in our area, a few people still have them. It's just one of those funny stories, it's just kind of like lore. Is there anything that you want to add or say, or?
Yeah, just I would say check out our Destination Burton website. We're really proud of that, and if you're ever in Texas, come see us. We'd love to have you.
I think that's the perfect way to end it.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, though. This is
No,
fun.